Danny, it's been a bit of a roller coaster so far this show. We've had a bit of teething problems with some of the guests, but it seems to be flowing quite nicely. The next topic, if you can introduce that to the people that are watching this.
I'm glad to, mate. I'm glad to. It's starting to feel like a bit of an award show. The nominees are. So basically, something we wanted to talk about was that after Luke Campbell lost to Ryan Garcia not too long ago, there seemed to be a bit of a narrative that sprung up on social media, particularly first in the US and then kind of came over to the UK, as things often do, about British trainers and not being as good as their American counterparts. This kind of idea that we've perhaps been left behind. We thought to discuss this, we'd get two of the UK's foremost trainers to come on and talk to us. And one of them, I believe, is here now. So you'll have to let me know if everyone can see Don Charles just yet.
Not at this present time, but once he does come on, I'll let you know. But whilst he's just coming onto the show, what we can do is we'll obviously introduce the segment. Like you said there, after the Ryan Garcia fight, there was a lot of criticism in regards to UK trainers, which I felt was unfair. But just discussing this topic a little bit, Danny, what did you make of the? Actually, we have got Don's just joined us, so let's just bring Don in. Don coming in as Liam Walsh, but yeah, Don Charles, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Can you hear me?
Can hear you perfectly, can see you perfectly. How is life treating yourself?
Life is good in the sense that you have to make the best of every situation. Obviously, the current climate generally worldwide is not good with this pandemic we're going through. Obviously, apart from that, I'm good. Personally, I'm good.
And it seems also like our own Ali Drew has once again risen from death, or come back from the ashes. I'm mixing up my metaphors. Ali, can you hear us?
I'm not sure she's there, Danny, to be honest.
I think I've spoken too soon.
So, Don, we were just discussing a topic that arose after the Ryan Garcia Luke Campbell fight. Danny introduced the segment just then where there was some criticism about UK trainers after the fight, first coming from stateside from the US, and then it seems to be a little bit of a narrative that's been brought forward in the UK. What do you make of this sort of narrative that's been brought forward after that fight?
Well, it's actually the first I've heard of it, which is quite alarming, taking into consideration the two number one and number two heavyweights and world champions in the world right now are both trained by British trainers, if I'm correct. Anthony Joshua and my apologies, Tyson Fury is trained by Kronk Sugar Hill. Yeah, but prior to that, he was trained by his uncle. Prior to that, after his uncle, he was trained by Ben Davison. And Sugar Hill was brought in for the second Wilder fight. But I will contest that opinion from the Americans because they're the ones who, not so long ago, they've only just seized power. I'm talking about heavyweights, and then we'll go through the other weight categories. They've only just recaptured like the heavyweight title from since Deontay Wilder came of age, and then we start talking about because obviously whoever's got the heavyweight champion rules. All the through history of boxing, all the lightweights, the middleweights, the welterweights, the lower weight divisions, they always carry boxing through the difficult times of boxing where, the major interest is usually when there's a special heavyweight dominating the heavyweight division, then suddenly there's a sudden interest, a wider interest for the general public. So the Americans, before they start making that judgment, for the last 10 years, for instance, Britain has never produced so many world champions in different weight categories. So I don't know why that argument cannot actually stand from their side. We will contest that strongly.
Danny?
Are we here?
Yeah, we're here. I think Udi was waiting for me to come in. I was waiting for Udi to come in. We're still in the early days of our partnership, so we're
I did end abruptly. I sort of speak and then I sort of You know me, I've always got a lot to say. So it's the first I've heard of that argument, in the sense that that's what they're claiming. They can claim, nobody says they can't. They've got every right to assume, or that's your own opinion, but I definitely, for one, don't agree with that.
Don, do you feel there's like a typical British/European style of training or style of boxing?
There used to be, but what's happened with the aid of the internet today, yeah, every young amateur professional has got access to a computer. Everybody's got a mobile phone. People are watching. Fighters are developing at a rapid speed because they're not just waiting for their coach to show them a certain move or a certain technique. They're studying. They're doing homework. They're studying. There's many good boxers worldwide. So, like I said, information is shared or readily available and shared very easily in this modern time. So the people are not just waiting to only learn what their coach is teaching them. They're going away and doing their own research on certain fighters. So you find in fighters, the styles have amalgamated over the years, because it's hard to tell, to differentiate from a typical European fighter to that of an American fighter. That's my own observation. So yeah, it's never, from my experience, through watching boxing since I was as young as 12 years old. I've been watching boxing. I've noticed before you was able to tell who was from where, but now it's hard to differentiate that. Do you know what I mean? So everybody's stylistically, it's hard to identify the background of most boxers, because people are watching.
Don, just wanted to ask you then, there's a few young trainers who are coming through and making a name for themselves. We mentioned Ben Davison just there. He seems to be, making his name with Tyson Fury. He was doing bits with Billy Joe Saunders at that time as well. Obviously with Josh Taylor and other fighters. We've also got Shane McGuigan, who recently had Luke Campbell fight Ryan Garcia. But he's got a plethora of fighters that seem to be or will be challenging for world titles, especially someone like Lawrence Okoli. What do you make of these two trainers, just these two trainers, the two young trainers that are coming out and making their name in the UK as UK trainers?
Yeah, they're doing tremendously well, because, again, what I said earlier on supports that. Yeah. These young coaches without, let's say, any experience, and then they found themselves in these top jobs they get given, and they're not fazed by it. Like Shane McGuigan, for instance, in his short time of being a coach, he's gone through George Groves, David Hay, Josh Taylor, and Carl Frampton, and the list is endless. And he's done a very good job on every single one of those fighters that I've just mentioned. He's been able to deal with it, and also don't forget the pressure that comes with it, And he's a young man, and to manage this, or to manage to be able to train these guys. Remember, they don't just bring who they are; they bring egos. They bring a lot of things, yeah. And for such a young man, a young head, we don't speak about it enough. I'm personally very pro British trainers, because we don't recognize each other as well as the Americans, let's say, for instance, recognize each other. Yeah. But we're very, very ready to praise and worship. Well, I don't. I'm an exception. I don't, not because I'm arrogant. I'm just very confident, always have been. Yeah. I've been saying it for years. We're very, very quick to praise the Americans, but we don't praise our own. And I think it's about time. Coming back to Ben Davison again, he got literally thrown into the job that he did with Tyson Fury. Let's face it, who did Ben Davison train prior to getting that big job? He trained a guy called Tom Little. Yeah. Based on who he had trained, he hadn't trained any Southern area champions, no English champions, no British champions. And he got thrown into that big, huge job. And guess what? He did it remarkably very, very well with it. Hence why his name got established overnight. Can I also add, there are hundreds, I'm not exaggerating, of such trainers around in England. yeah, who don't get that recognition, that break. Okay, there's so many coaches around in the UK. I see most of them because being an owner of a gym and a trainer myself, you get to see these people coming through. You know, I think more chances should be given to these coaches. British, it's almost like the life of football, for instance. Yeah, if we couldn't use that sort of an example. Yeah, homegrown. We need to recognize our own and stop worshiping people, not because the people, you're Americans and you're South Americans, not because they're very good, but we should also recognize the homegrown talents from the boxers to the coaches. We've got so many young coaches coming through, and I think it's about time we start recognizing them and appreciate, and for them to be getting the jobs that would normally, let's say, go to the established trainers. I think they should be given a chance to be given these jobs.
Don, just finally onto yourself then. 2021, we know you're training a couple of fighters. What's it looking like for your fighters at this present time? Is there any news on when they're getting out?
Well, the same as everybody else, we're in the same boat. We're just waiting, obviously. The indication is we're looking round about end of March, April, for anything to be realistic. The way the climate is, we have to obviously listen. It's all down to what the government are saying, and you know, me personally, I think when you take an educated guess, you're probably looking at April period, springtime.
Okay. Yeah, we spoke to George earlier, Don, as you know, for one of the earlier segments. It's a huge year for him, isn't it?
Well, he has to really. He's my son. Yes, I'm his trainer. Yes, I am. But he has to. He's got a lot of ground to make up. He's a late starter. 28 years old. By now, at the age of 28, he should be contesting for minimum European, in some cases, world titles, because he's so behind that. We literally will have to race him to get him to make up the lost years.
Cool. Don, I want to thank you very, very much for coming on to this part of the show. There's no doubt we'll actually be calling you along at some point again. We know that you've joined us for the watch-alongs before, and we'll hopefully get you back onto this show at some point in the future. So thank you very much for joining myself and Danny.
My pleasure. It's always a pleasure. And Danny's my sparring partner. Verbal sparring partner.
Yeah, only verbal. It's never going beyond verbal.
Seconds out. Ding, ding.
Thank you.
All right, good.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Take care, Don.